The growing number of NAS options out there is kind of ridiculous. You've got Synology, QNAP, TerraMaster, ASUSTOR, Buffalo, and now even companies like UGREEN, Minisforum, and Unify, and those are just the turnkey options. Then you've got the DIY crowd with the TrueNASs and the Unraids, which opens up a whole other level of customization. So while all of this competition is great, it also makes it a little harder to figure out what NAS you actually need. So today at Mackie Tech, I'm going to break this down into a simple framework based on what you plan to do with your NAS and help you figure out what actually makes sense for your setup and your budget. So when choosing a NAS, I feel like there are two camps, the turnkey crowd and the DIY crowd. Think of the turnkey NASs like your Synologies and your QNAPs like appliances and more plug and play. The hardware and software are built to work together, the interface is polished, and all but Unify offer apps you can install with just a few clicks. The trade-off is you're going to be paying more for that turnkey convenience and have less flexibility when it comes to both hardware and software compared to the DIY crowd. When you build your own NAS, you're essentially building a server, so you can have your pick of hardware as well as NAS software with options like TrueNAS, Unraid, as well as Open Media Vault or OMV. The big benefit isn't just cost savings, it's the flexibility. Platforms like TrueNAS and OMV are completely free, open source, and extremely customizable. But that level of control comes with its own cost also, because you'll need to rely on documentation, community forums, and your own troubleshooting if you get stuck or if something breaks. And while TrueNAS, Unraid, and OMV have excellent community support, not everyone has the time or, frankly, the patience to go down that rabbit hole. Now, Unraid does have a paid license, but that fee goes towards software updates, and Unraid is usually considered to have an easier setup process than TrueNAS, with more apps and plugins as well as a more seamless interface, so it sort of sits in the middle. So if you're the kind of person who enjoys tinkering, troubleshooting, and squeezing every ounce of flexibility out of your hardware, the DIY route is the way to go. But if you just want something that you plug it in and it works, the turnkey appliance style NAS is going to make a lot more sense. So that's really what I wanted to focus on today. I'll also include a cheat sheet in the video description linked to my free Patreon with specific model recommendations. But first, I want to give you some context so you can better understand what you're choosing and why you're choosing it. So right out of the box, if all you need is storage, backups, and archiving, and you're not planning on media streaming, running virtual machines, or containers, Unify is an easy recommendation. It's very streamlined, easy to set up, simple to use, and especially convenient if you already have their Unify ecosystem. Pricing is pretty straightforward too. You've got their 2-bay NAS, which is around $200, their 4-bay in the $300 to $400 range, and then their rack mount system, which starts at around $500. It can go up to about $800 depending on how much capacity you need. And we'll talk more about how NAS bays work and how to choose a little later. So if you want to do more than just storage with your NAS, especially something like media streaming, that's where your choice is really going to start to matter. Media streaming is probably one of the most popular use cases. And the first question you need to ask yourself is, are you the only one streaming media, or do you have multiple people streaming? And are they streaming on different devices at the same time? Now, most modern streaming boxes like Roku, the Amazon Fire, Apple TV, as well as most smart TVs with Android, they can play media files directly, which means your NAS doesn't have to transcode anything. But if you're streaming to smartphones, tablets, remotely, that's where transcoding starts to kick in, and having hardware acceleration like Intel's QuickSync can make a big difference. And just to clarify, it's not the number of streams that cause transcoding necessarily, it's whether each device can play the file directly. But the more devices you have, especially different types of remote users, the more likely transcoding is going to come into play. And if you have multiple people watching at once, maybe someone on the iPad, another person in the basement, and another one on the television upstairs, that's where your NAS resources really start to matter, not just transcoding, but also your CPU cores, your RAM, and overall system performance. Having said that, Most of the Synology's 2025 DS Plus models don't support hardware transcoding anymore. On the other hand, UGREEN's DXP models all use Intel's CPUs with QuickSync. QNAP also has a wide range of Intel-based models that support hardware transcoding. While TerraMaster is a bit simpler, their newer Intel-based models work well for media streaming since they support transcoding, but their ARM-based models don't, so they really only work better if the device can play the file directly. Now, if you're planning to use your NAS for surveillance, Synology is usually considered the gold standard thanks to their Surveillance Station app. They're also one of the few NAS companies that sell their own cameras. Synology includes 2 camera licenses for free and then charges a one-time fee for each camera. Others like QNAP, ASUSTOR, and TerraMaster follow a similar license model. They also offer their own dedicated surveillance apps, but tend to focus more on supporting third-party cameras rather than their own hardware. And then you've got UniFi, which also has its own cameras and excellent surveillance software, UniFi Protect, and it also doesn't charge for camera licenses. But it is a separate system and it doesn't use its NAS for recording footage. That brings us to running virtual machines, or VMs, and containers, which more than anything else will determine your NAS's CPU and RAM, but it's important to understand how VMs and containers use resources. For example, when you assign 4 gigabytes of RAM to a Linux VM, that memory is reserved for that VM, even if it's not using it all. Containers, on the other hand, are much more flexible. They use the RAM they need, and then they share the rest with the system. In contrast, CPU cores are shared in both cases, so multiple VMs or containers can share the same CPU cores. Then there's also app usage, like file syncing, media streaming, productivity tools. Those all add up along with VMs and containers, and the more you run, the more resources you're going to need. So if you're planning to run more than a few virtual machines as well as apps, maybe a couple of containers, I'd recommend starting with at least 8 gigabytes of RAM and a 4 to 8 core CPU. Now, you really can't upgrade a CPU in a NAS like QNAP or ASUSTOR, but RAM is a different story. As an example, Synology allows upgrades, but only supports their own branded RAM, which can get expensive. UGREEN, TerraMaster, and ASUSTOR are a little more flexible, offering more RAM up front, and they also support third-party memory. That brings us to the number of people that are using the NAS. A couple people doing light file access is easy, but as you add more users that are uploading, streaming, or using apps, that adds up quickly. And it's not just how many users you have, it's what they're specifically doing and whether they're doing it at the same time, meaning they might be competing for your NAS resources. So as a general guideline, for 1 to 2 users doing basic file storage backup and light app usage, a 2 to 4 core CPU with around 4 to 8 gigabytes of RAM is usually plenty. But once you get into 3 to 4 people at the same time, especially streaming media, doing containers, using virtual machines, you're going to want something like a 4 to 8 core CPU with at least 16 gigabytes of RAM to keep things running smoothly. Now, having strong hardware is great, but if the system's too difficult to use, then it's not going to really matter. And that brings us to Synology, who is pretty well known for a really polished experience with great apps, strong product support, and a very intuitive interface, but they're going to be probably a little more modest on the hardware end. QNAP, on the other hand, leads more towards performance and flexibility. You'll often get better connectivity and expansion options, but the software can feel a little bit more complex depending on what you're trying to do. Then you've got TerraMaster and UGREEN, which tend to focus a little bit more on hardware and value, while ASUSTOR kind of sits in the middle with a balance of both. Security follows in a similar pattern. Synology is a little bit more locked down out of the box, which makes it easier to manage, especially if you're newer to this. QNAP gives you more control, but also means a little more hands-on setup. TerraMaster and ASUSTOR fall somewhere between, and UGREEN is relatively new and generally straightforward, but like these systems, it really depends on how you want to configure it. Another thing you'll notice when comparing NAS brands is the materials they use for their enclosures. Synology tends to use more plastic, which might seem cheap, but it actually helps to reduce vibration and keeps things quieter. So that's great if your NAS is sitting in your office or in a living space. QNAP usually mixes metal and plastic, giving you a more balance between cooling and noise, while TerraMaster and UGREEN lean more towards aluminum, which helps with heat dissipation and gives the system a more premium feel. So if your NAS is sitting near you, you're going to notice the noise a lot more. But if it's tucked away in a basement or in a closet, then cooling might be more important than how quiet it is. And power usage works the same way. It really comes down to the hardware and what you're running. The more drives you have, the more powerful the CPU, the more apps you're running, the more power it's going to use. Lastly, let's talk about drive bays in your NAS. This doesn't just determine how much storage you have today, it also affects future-proofing and what kind of RAID setup you can use. And let's remember that RAID is not a backup, it's simply a way of having multiple drives that work together for protection, performance, or both. So the more bays you have, the more flexibility you have to expand your storage over time. And as a result, you have more RAID options for protection and performance. But the trade-off is that the more protection that you have, the less usable space you're going to end up with. So if you install two 8 terabyte drives, which would normally give you 16 terabytes of space, you're really only going to be getting 8 terabytes since one drive is effectively used for protection. That might be fine for documents and backups, but if you're storing things like 4K video or a large media library, that can fill up pretty quickly. Once you move up to 4 bays or more, using RAID 5 configuration gives you a little bit more balance of capacity as well as protection. So to follow with our previous example, if we use 4 8 terabyte drives, you're still sacrificing one 8 terabyte drive for protection, but you still have 24 terabytes of usable storage, which is much more breathing room. And with even more bays, you start looking at things like RAID 6 or RAID 10 for additional protection and performance. So at this point, we've covered a lot. Usage, performance, drive base, software, security, and so you can see there's not a one-size-fits-all answer for which NAS is best for you. If you want the most polished experience, strong apps, and things like built-in surveillance, you're probably looking at Synology or QNAP, which starts at around $200 to $400 with 2 to 4 bays. Stepping up to $400 to $800 and you're in the 4-bay territory with media streaming, containers, and maybe even light virtual machines. And once you get above 800, you're looking at 6 bays or more, better for multiple users, heavier workloads, and even more advanced setups. And once you get above 800, you're looking at 6 bays or more, which is better for multiple users, heavier workloads, and more advanced setups. If your focus is more on performance, especially for media and virtual machines, then the UGREEN DXP line and some QNAP models really stand out thanks to their multi-core CPUs and generous RAM right out of the box. If you're more budget conscious, TerraMaster and ASUS offer a lot of value. You'll typically see 2-bay models in the $200 to $300 price range, 4-bay systems around $350 to $700, and higher-end 6-bay systems starting around $700 and up. They're a great option if you want solid performance without paying a premium for the ecosystem. And then there's the Unify lineup, which is really geared more towards simple storage and backups rather than running apps. Their 2-bay comes in at around $200. The 4-bay is roughly in the $300, $400 range. And their rack mount systems run anywhere from $500 to $800 depending on your configuration. Anyway, that's going to wrap up this video. If you found it helpful to narrow things down a little bit, please give it a like and let me know your thoughts in the comments, such as which system you're using if you're on the DIY side, or if you're more of a turnkey person and what system you'd prefer, or what system you're looking at replacing and upgrading to. Remember that I will be posting a cheat sheet in my free Patreon outlining the pricing and usage cases and my recommendations on brands and models. The link will be in the video description. And if you're not subscribed to Mackie Tech, please make sure to click on the button if you enjoy home lab tutorials and educational content like this. A special shout out to all of my Patreon supporters. You know who you are. And a thank you to all of you for watching. We'll be talking to you again very soon.